Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. It's great to be addressing you again today, our beloved Brooklyn community. And today we are featuring our latest project, which is a very special project coming from the entertainment industry. We've had our sights on this for a long time now, and we've been in conversations with Helm Capital Group, the company behind this project, since the summer, I believe, where we're joining with them, having decades of experience in show business in the U.S. We've gotten their project ready now, and they're here to tell us about their vision, the team behind the project, and every little aspect about what they're doing themselves. So, introducing Helm Capital, we have Jeff, CEO, VP, Nate, and we have Andrew as well. Aaron, Aaron, who's the theatrical general manager of the company. So I'll pass the floor to you guys now. Thank you.
Good morning, Rodrigo. Thank you for that terrific introduction. The nature of Helm Capital really was organically conceived. I was meeting with a couple of theater producers in New York one night, and someone had pointed out that a major Broadway show that they had walked past on the way to dinner had 71 producers above the title, and how most of the properties that were on Broadway effectively were derivative of some other work, whether it would be a rehashed movie or it would be a comic book that sort of matured into a Broadway musical, that the content was really getting very derivative and very planned out. And 71 people above the title, that smacks of an industry that needs change, at least in how the financing is done, because it's an unsustainable scenario. You can't continue to add names above the title in order to bring a project into the sphere. So it was really born of sort of an organic conversation of how do we go about dealing with some of the shortcomings of investing in entertainment and Broadway specifically. There were issues of transparency. There were issues of legacy. Funding pools were changing because people were, moving on and into other aspects. The crypto market space was changing where people's interests and where their money was flowing.
So in this
genuine need,
Helm Capital was born, Jeff.
Yes, so that's really how it was created. It was created to address some of the shortcomings, and we think that we've done a really great job in addressing some of those things by introducing some technology into the space and by having some 21st century concepts as to how the ecosphere could function if the opportunity was opened up to the more general public.
Okay.
Traditionally, entertainment projects like this have been funded by large-scale investments that were only available to private placement opportunities, and that lent itself to doing projects which were pretty much guaranteed to have commercial viability because they had been derivative of something else.
Okay,
and the space has become sort of starved for an artistic outlet.
All right. Well, I was kind of getting to that with my next question. So you're definitely identifying things you're trying to move away from in the industry and moving into some more interesting concepts. So you mentioned technology also. So your business model, if you guys could share with us how it's trying, what things is it trying to phase off, and what things is it trying to create with this incorporation of technology and changes in the model?
Well, I'll let Nate take that one. Nate, why don't you go ahead and explain?
Well, traditionally, when you get involved in a big production, your money is stuck. You pay in and you're sitting back waiting on merchandise, ticket sales, total show revenues, and then royalty trails off the intellectual property trailing for like 20 years on subsidiary developments. So, you write a check for a couple $100,000 and then you're in for a long ride. The cool thing, investments into the theater space are dollar for dollar tax deductible the year you make the investment. That carries through with the technology that we're deploying. So funds in to do the show, you get to write off this year, and then you deal with the profits when the show opens. Additionally, by tokenizing on the Ethereum blockchain, we can automate a lot of the payments, make sure that everybody's getting their fair share, and everybody gets equal treatment. We can use tokens to make in-kind payments to cast and crew. And after a 12-month lockup period, you can sell your tokens. So you can actually reduce your stake in a show, recover your initial capital, and still keep revenue trails so you can go invest into another show. Because traditionally, Broadway investors are serial participants in the industry.
It's really about adding the transparency and dealing with the sort of the industry's sort of black mark. That once you've made an investment, a lot of times you don't get a whole lot of communication. There's really sort of no way of tracking your investment or having even, getting, all of the things that represent your investment so that you can basically feel as if it's more than just a contribution in an art that, may or may not produce something down the road. By tokenizing things, we're hoping to open it up to a larger audience, but also add a layer of transparency. Is the blockchain obviously prevents some of the unscrupulous activity that people have feared in the past, as well as it creates a fungibility that after a lockup period that's necessary to meet the securities requirements, you'll actually be able to sunset an opportunity that you may feel has exhausted itself. Perhaps there are other investments you find more attractive. Perhaps you want to leverage and leave any treatment that you've gotten in the show in place as your interest in the show, while moving the initial capital onto another production or into another investment of a similar kind or of a completely other kind. Previously, once your money was in a theatrical production, there was no way of taking the original capital out. The only way you would have is to recover your funds as part of your investment return, if you will.
Okay, so it's loud and clear that you're innovating on the financial structure side of show business here. I'd love to hear it. And about you mentioned a little bit before, I'm not sure there's a lot more to it, about the stories that you guys choose to take to stage versus what these capital raising conditions that are prevalent right now. It seems like they're stuck in a rut that you're ready to throw some fresh water and fresh energy into.
Well, the really brilliant thing is, after we've got this proof of concept done and we've proven out the model, other aspiring producers, writers with a script under their arm, will be able to reach out to us for a nominal startup fee. We can get them in through process into a tokenized offering, geared up to deploy everything from the revenue trails all the way through to the embedded digital show novelty merchandise, because each token's actually going to carry alongside a permanently locked commemorative NFT, 3D renders of the set pieces, signed posters of the show cast. All of them are going to be unique and serialized. So there's a certain collectability element, sort of like baseball rookie cards, where if you fund an off-Broadway show and it happens to have, the next Brad Pitt in it in his first stage production, the tokens with those NFTs, the collectability value could scale well in excess of the returns that make sense due to the revenue participation from a show that's not a hit.
Okay,
So,
I see how that comes into play. We are going to spend a lot, maybe minutes talking about the tokenization concept, but I think you just hit something quite relevant here, Nate, with the first Brad Pitt stage performance, right? I don't think the audience would know too much about who is in this show and what are you featuring. If these are things we can talk about openly, I don't know if it's still a showbiz secret, but are we able to discuss any of those details about the show?
I
Absolutely. That's why we have Aaron along. So
yeah,
that's exactly why Aaron's here. So Aaron, I'll let you speak about the show.
Aaron, are you with us?
I am
Yes.
right here.
Hello.
So, hi. So the show is called Kowalski, and it's about the first meeting between Marlon Brando and Tennessee Williams. Tennessee Williams. This is actually the first time we're saying this publicly. There'll be an official theatrical release coming out shortly, but Tennessee Williams will be played by Robin Lord Taylor. He's mostly well known for playing the role of Penguin on the TV show Gotham.
Oh wow!
And Brandon Flynn will be playing the role of Marlon Brando. Brandon has 5 million Instagram followers and is known from 13 Reasons Why, among many others. Very excited to work with these people. I'm excited to see what they bring to the role and to the stage, and it's going to be great. It's going to be amazing.
Wow, this is quite a performance that you guys are putting together with some A-list actors. This is very exciting for us to be able to represent technology-wise as well. So the show is about the meeting between Marlon Brando and Tennessee Williams, renowned classical author, streetcar named Desire. Anything related there that we can get about just a little scoop about what the show will be about? And
well, this is about really when Marlon Brando wasn't Brando yet. He was just an unknown, struggling actor, and Tennessee Williams had just come off of his first big hit, Glass Menagerie, and Marlon Brando had to basically sell himself to Tennessee Williams to prove that he was a
worthy,
good enough actor and talent to play the role of Stanley Kowalski, which is the role that launched Marlon Brando's career. Without Stanley Kowalski, there would be no Marlon Brando as we envision him today. And
wow,
even though Streetcar Named Desire, made Tennessee Williams' career, even though Glass Menagerie made Tennessee Williams' career, Streetcar Named Desire, that's people view that as the apex of his art. So,
all right,
these two legends coming together, their first meeting, it's so exciting.
It's great that you're putting that on stage, Aaron. I assume you're going to be very busy in the next coming weeks. When are you guys starting to show? When is this?
Rehearsal actually starts Monday.
No kidding. Nervous laughter.
Yeah, no. Rehearsal starts Monday. We load into the theater the beginning of January. Our first preview is going to be mid-January, around the 12th, give or take. And then we open January 27th.
All right, opening show January and end of January.
But our first preview, we'll have performances before then. But official opening night when the reviews come out is the 27th, and it's going to be great. I don't even care about reviews on this one.
All right. Well, it's next month. I mean, it sounds scary, but it is happening next month. We still have the whole December to go through. Not trying to make you even more nervous, Aaron, there, but I guess you have your work cut out for you. So, okay, excellent stuff. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now,
I can't tell you how much I actually like the show. As I have a dual role here in this. I own and CEO of Helm Capital, which is an enterprise, like I said, that came sort of, organically from a conversation. but I'm simultaneously a producer on Kowalski. We went looking for the right property to do first. Is inevitably someone had to go first, and rather than have to talk another producer into going first and having the courage to do some of the things that we're doing, I went ahead and said, okay, I'll be the idiot that goes first, but I'm going to make sure that we do the best possible show that we can do. So this is a really fantastic show. It speaks to the development of Tennessee Williams. It speaks to the development of Marlon Brando. I, like many people, have shouted Stella to a balcony more than once in my life. It's sort of a unique thing that we all sort of attach a little bit of of history to. It's a piece that I think that we can all embrace. It's easy to follow. It's a lot of fun. And I think the show will have tremendous commercial success. Obviously, I have a dual role as the commercial success of the token rollout, which funds moving the show from its off-Broadway to Broadway eventuality and on through whatever its lifespan being. I'm hoping, frankly, that it'll be a feature film someday. And all of those things will be terrific, and the show will continue to develop, and hopefully the show will be the huge success that I see it can be.
All right.
So I have kind of a dual role.
That's a very exciting, commanding role you got there, Jeff. And you were moving now from, so we understand what the show is about, who's going to be in it. We have these A-listers from The Penguin, 13 Reasons. Aaron seems to be super excited about the opening night being next month. So we understand the concept of the show, the rise of Marlon Brando as confirmation on stage through this Kowalski character. Now, you were touching on the show moving from off-Broadway to Broadway and maybe feature film plans. So is that tokenized? Are we tokenizing part of that, the success of the story? Could you tell us about what is being offered as a benefit of this token, so I know what I'm putting my money into?
Certainly. That's one of the things that's very unique about this tokenization, is inevitably in the past, what has happened is there's been cycles of development to an intellectual property. An intellectual property will go from being a script, someone essentially likes the script and makes a deal with the writer to represent the script and develop it. It then goes through cycles of development where sometimes you'll have a table reading, you will have
You muted, Jeff.
Yeah, so I was saying that you'll have cycles where the project moves through development from a table read to a development cycle in sort of a small development space, and then it will eventually move to either an out-of-town opening or an off-Broadway opening, and then assuming that the commercial viability exists and that the reviews are sufficient to support it, ultimately you want the project to move to either a Broadway venue. This project is kind of a unique in that hybrid as well, as we're opening on 42nd Street, which is physically within the Broadway district, and we're actually paying a premium for that privilege.
Yeah, I checked. You guys are like on the block behind.
Correct. So there's a show actually next door and across the street. And there are Broadway theaters that are actually south of where the Duke is. So we're within the Broadway, the physical Broadway district. The thing that makes this a off-Broadway segment is the size of the theater. So this enables us to do some of the further development on the show without having the costs that exists in a true Broadway theater. So Broadway theater would be, again, within the physical Broadway district,
but it would be a larger house with infinitely higher costs. There would be union costs that would be significantly higher. There would be other development costs as well as the rent for the theater, which would be significantly higher. So, as I said, each intellectual property goes through a development cycle. This is a cycle along the way to an eventual Broadway run and or feature film. We're hoping. It is so. This will open at the Duke, which is a 299 seat house in the Broadway Theater District. The only thing that disqualifies it as a Broadway show is the size of the theater. So if we were opening this show next door or around the block at a theater that held, say, 500 plus seats, then it would be considered a Broadway show. And
Okay.
and that's the intention, is we're intending to do some development work in the 199 seat Duke Theater. Forgive me, I said 299. It's actually 199 seats. The point is we want to look at the sets. We want to look at the lighting. We want to look at how the characters are physically positioned on stage. There's development work that will happen during the 6 weeks that the show plays at the quote unquote Off-Broadway house. And after that work is done, after the theater community has a chance to see the show and support the show, then the show will move to Broadway. We've structured the token raise to follow the show to Broadway, and the money is effectively being raised for moving the show to Broadway, to carry the show through its commercial fruition.
So investors are carried along with the show for profits generated in the long term as well.
Correct. So each token represents, a lack of a better way to say it, share of the show's potential. And that interest, that potential, will follow the intellectual property through its entirety.
Oh,
so at the moment, it's going to open a month from now in a off-Broadway, technically off-Broadway size house within the Broadway district. It will then either move directly to a feature film or directly to a Broadway run, depending on the interest and what is most commercially viable. Not
Okay.
every property translates to every media. Some projects simply make a better movie than they do a staged production. This particular production, we believe, will follow a traditional path from off-Broadway. We'll fix the laughs, make sure that the timing is correct, make sure the lighting is correct. We will mature the show. We'll bring the show to full commercial maturity and then move the show to a larger house within the Broadway Theater District. And then hopefully it will continue a path onto being a feature film. I believe it will. But regardless of what the intellectual property's future is, as an investor in the show, you will share in whatever eventuality the intellectual property has. So if we make our money selling T-shirts and mugs, then you're going to share in those royalties of the T-shirts and mugs. If we make a feature film out of it, you'll participate in the feature film. If it goes to Broadway and it runs for 20 years and becomes the next Cats, then you'll participate. So you're investing not in the off-Broadway iteration of the show, not in the Broadway iteration of the show. You're investing in the intellectual property for the next 20 years, potentially. You could potentially have 20 years of potential income, depending on what the path of the intellectual property is. I would ultimately, since I'm a producer of the show, and I have stacked the deck. I've literally, that's been basically my rallying cry for my team since I began the process is spend the money, get the best person you can get for that job. Let's stack the deck. Not only is this going to be Helm Capital's first production, but I want the show to continue its visibility, because with the visibility of the show comes the visibility of the investment.
Okay, so
I mean, our
visibility of the
designers
show.
are Tony Award-winning designers on this piece. It's,
Right.
I'm excited with like the talent and experience that will be on that stage is just, it's insane.
All right, Aaron, please do tell us if you want to share a little bit with us about the talent that the team brings together. Would be great to know more. So yes, please. And from there, I'd like to switch to you, Nate, with some questions about the pie, how it's broken up with different investment sources. But please, Aaron, the talent on the team, tell us all about it.
You know, David Gallo is doing our scenic design. He's so many Broadway shows. He's done Memphis. I was actually at the Big Apple Circus 2 weekends ago. That was him. He's scenic design on that. Jeff Kreuter, so many, like multiple Tony Awards for his lighting design. Lisa Zinni, scenic designer on the Revival of Hair, among many costume designer on the Revival of Hair, among many others. It's just, this is the most stacked creative team I've been lucky to work with. And
all right,
thank
so
you, Jeff, for letting us stack the deck.
End of January should make ourselves our way from Bricken here in Barcelona to New York. It's not that long of a flight. Would be amazing to check out that. Or maybe not opening night, but for further shows, yes. And deck being stacked talent-wise, and understanding from your CEO and production dual role, Jeff. You mentioned that investment in the project takes you all through the life cycle of the intellectual property. Now, is this going to be on a different level than traditional investors? Because I understand you're also having liquidity for the project. The finance is also coming from people in the industry that are usually putting up big chunks of money. Do they have some different benefits than the regular retail investors that would be interested in your token, or is it a level playing field?
Nate, this one's yours.
That's a great question, Rodrigo. Looking forward into the coming century, there's been a large push to move towards a model of stakeholder capitalism. So what we've built out here, 50% of the token supply is available for sale. So those benefit blocks are sold to our investors. The other half of the token supply is used to issue in-kind payments to talent. Once we get an affiliate program rolled up, that's how we're going to compensate the affiliates. That's how, Helm gets paid. And depending on the level of financial support you come in with, your financial support is awarded bonus BBs from the production investment pool. So a traditional Broadway investor used to getting a certain amount of amplification for dollars in, gets the traditional amount of exposure, and we've tiered the bonus structure down so that even CF investors who are limited to 10% of their income or net worth, whichever's lower, can receive bonus treatment commensurate to their level of participation. So we've built a system where every single token gets equal treatment, whether it's a token that we give the playwright, the director, one of the stars, bonus tokens that we give to investors, or, like say we elect to hold back some small percentage of the tokens to pay, backstage crew. There's a lot of ways that we can use the benefit blocks to incentivize the entire team and make sure that everybody gets to participate in the upside. So our goal is to build a system that's much more accessible and fair, because previously you weren't even able to touch one of these deals without coming in like a whale.
So leveling the playing field, making it fair and square for everyone to get their foot in as much as they're able to through the door, and then get the payback from the benefit block revenue stream.
Just to sort of simplify what Nate was saying and put a sort of cherry on it, the design is to create a more level playing field. Obviously, people who are making larger scale investments, whether they're making that investment directly into the show or that investment is coming through the purchase of tokens, the treatment that they receive will obviously be amplified because of the scale of their investment. However, that treatment is available regardless of the method of your investment. So to answer your question specifically, if I understood it, money that's directly invested into the show and bypasses the brick in front end, the tokenization purchasing front end, it actually becomes tokenized the same way, regardless of how your investment flowed. Is your investment will be represented in the show as a portion, just as all of the other investments. So the purpose of that is to make it a fair playing field.
All right.
So someone who's invested $500 in the show or $5,000 in the show theoretically has the same treatment, if you will, as someone who had invested more. The only difference is the amplification that you receive for a larger or upfront investment.
Right. Understood there, Jeff. Now, is this level playing field part of what attracted you to tokenization? I'd like to get a little bit into what drew you to reaching out and saying, hey, let's mess around. Let's try this, doing this on blockchain. So what took you to that conclusion? What benefits were you seeing for your operation? And how did you rule out the other suspects and land on us with Bricken?
Well, that came actually from a different conversation. This wasn't my first show. And I constantly, when raising money for previous enterprises, had constantly heard issues of transparency within this vertical space. And I heard it over and over and over and over again, to the point where it was deafening. And so for me, blockchain represented that component. This was a way in which we could make a completely transparent scenario. Investors would have the potential to have third-party verification and or immutable understanding of what it was that had been invested, how it had been invested, and that there was activity on that investment. And those things would be immutable in nature is really what led me to tokenization more so than anything else. The ability to be able to function within a new financial paradigm, which is going to lend itself to stakeholder capitalism, certainly, but also toward digital real-world assets, was also a very attractive element. I believe that as we proceed through business in the 21st century, just as in the 20th century, fiat currency was necessary to allow the greatest business expansion possible. In the early 1900s, we had a paradigm where we had to create a debt system model so that people weren't bringing, 20 chickens to market to trade. They could go with a pocket full of change or some notes instead and get into the market space and go home with, dinner. As we go further and further into a digital finance space, representation of real world assets as tokenized is going to continue. It's going to continue. It's going to accelerate. And so it made sense to inherit all of the aspects that tokenization would bring to the scenario. Is we would obviously inherit greater market space. More people would be potentially leveraged in the marketplace. We could open it up to a smaller price point. We could create the transparency that was desirable, and we could create the long-term tracking so that people could, as they forgot what was where, as they were invested in their lives and became occupied by the other aspects of their lives, there would be a tangible thing to remind them, as well as the addition of creating a new asset class represented by the collectability or numismatic functions. I've always been a traditional numismatist coin collector myself, and so I love the idea of being able to tie a NFT to the coin and have the coin, because of its limited run, because of the attached NFTs, because of its presence in the market space as being a leader, that these things would create for me a desirability behind the coin that might exceed the potential of the show. That being said, I also told my team to do your absolute most to make sure that this show succeeds.
Sure it will.
I mean,
yes.
We do have one thing kind of going for us. We are absolutely standing on the shoulders of giants. If you look at what's been coming out in the crypto space over the last 4 or 5 years, we've got Dolly Parton's big NFT project. Eminem did ShadyCon, and another big like NFT launch where he was selling some of his beats and tracks that he'd produced. We had Snoop Dogg, who's actually got a login, Snoop Doge, who's a huge proponent of Dogecoin and has Metaspace integration on some of his NFTs, where you're able to display the NFTs inside of Metaspaces. That's the end goal of our use case. Like, hypothetically speaking, say that we'd been able to tokenize Little Shop of Horrors, and we're giving out NFTs that are 3D models, like statues of the characters. And then inside of your Metaspace, hangout room, you've got your 3D model NFTs set up like statues, so your friends can come in with their Oculus Rifts on and like walk around in your virtual house and see all your cool collectible NFTs. If we'd done Rocky Horror Picture Show, and one of the digital assets was the gold bikini or the bread bag, you'd be able to put those NFTs on your avatar. And each one of those NFTs that's embedded in a token, the token is what gives display rights and access. So nobody else gets that specific token. So there's a lot of fun that we've seen other people already implement that we're going to be able to tie in on. Now, that's music, not theater. Looking at theater, Dear Evan Hansen partnered with Roblox, and they made NFTs of a piece of costume that was available for sale for like $2.50, and 100% of the money went to charity. In 2022, there was a project, Crypto the Musical. This was before Reg CF became available. And in order to generate early buzz and marketing support, you could buy tokens and get to name a character, get tickets to the show, but you weren't actually able to reward financial participation. With Reg CF that came back out in April, all the hard work that Ripple's done in the legal sphere with the SEC and getting ground broken for us, we've actually been able to come in and securitize 100% of a show's net revenue, distribute that equally across all tokens, in compliance with SEC regulations. There's some lockup periods and everything. But as soon as we're out of lockup period, any of the investors, any of the talent, like whether you got your tokens in kind or you paid for them, they're all the exact same. So
it really came down to, if I can do a commercial for Bricken, essentially, it really came down to looking for the right partner at some point. We had the vision of what it was that we wanted to do. We needed to identify the right partner for us to handle the technology so that we could focus on the quality of the production, so we could focus on what we were doing. And after taking a real hard look at the space, Bricken was the only platform that we thought could mature this project to fruition and give us a stake that would make doing the project technologically possible in the short term. It would have taken us an additional 2 to 3 years to stand this up without the help of Bricken. And we would much rather spend those 2 years growing and adding additional functionality rather than trying to stand up a competitor. It just didn't make any sense. And Bricken has done such a fantastic job in the space. We wanted to leverage your experience. We wanted to leverage the capacity that you guys already have in-house.
Well, thank you, Jeff. That's absolutely noble of you to mention. And we'll tying off with what Nate was finalizing there with the distribution of profits through blockchain and making this accessible to more people, to our community, to the community you'll eventually raise out of all of this and all the shows you'll be doing. And well, anybody that's interested in theater now can have a voice with as much as they can put into it to participate in things that they're passionate about and be an investor in Broadway. I mean, you guys are doing great things with this. Very happy, and I have to say, these guys are very fun to work with. So very excited to see where all of this goes. Felix, if we still have a couple minutes, could we see the token store for the Kowalski show? So our community can have a little bit of a preview there. Thank you very much. So this is what you'll see when you navigate the show's website. Sign in to register with your email is up on the right, and that'll give you more access into, well, connecting your wallet and starting on the whitelist. The white paper is already there for review, and the finance scope you can also check out there, along with the legal documents. If you guys have any questions about those legal documents, about the rights they represent, they're all very descriptive in how they were drafted, showing how everything is linked to your investment and those revenues that Jeff and Nate were talking about. I understand there's a bit of a preview coming up soon, or maybe even a video of the key drawbacks of this interview going up there for the video section. And the round is live for everyone interested. We understand some contributions are being secured over in the US as well. That will feed this round, and you'll be able to learn more about the show. And there's even on the bottom, I think the team that supports the project, inclusive of some actors there. Yes, so that information is all there. You can check these people's bios by looking at those links. The white paper also is available for consultation. It's a nice informative read about what this company is putting together. So we would like to, of course, invite everyone to go and check this out. Maybe run some numbers, see if it's an interesting avenue for a little bit of a Christmas treat. With future plans being to expand this show, like Jeff was sharing with us, I'm definitely excited to be a part of this and participate myself, of course. As for closing remarks, any key details you'd like to share with us and our audience? Nate?
I've got one more small point to make. Bitcoin. There's going to be like 21 million of them, right? Like, think that's the number. There's only going to be 120,000 Kowalski coins. So we're real world asset backed with a much more truncated and limited supply. So, I mean, is it pie in the sky? Yeah. But this could end up being a better store of value than BTC.
Well, yeah, from now to movie release, there's quite a path, quite a path to make some X's on, and go for that 10x. But yeah, going 10x on Bitcoin is quite a pipe dream now. But on something like this, that's a whole different game. I agree with that. Yes, Nate.
At the same time, if you were lucky enough to get the NFT of say you know, our Marlon Brando taking his shirt off, then if he became the new Marlon Brando, that would potentially be an extremely valuable NFT. So there's potential from the show, there's potential from the token being, you know, unique and being a limited number. There's also potential from the NFT. There are a number of different ways in which this project, this token, could represent future opportunity in a number of different ways.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Aaron, Jeff, Nate. It's been a treat working with you guys, and presenting with you a Broadway show to our community is something very exciting. We look to delve into the entertainment space a lot more with you guys. Thank you for choosing to tokenize with Bricken, building on blockchain with us, Broadway now, and let's see what more we can do later together. Thanks, and that'll be all for us, community. Hope you guys are liking these projects, and promise to bring more. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Rodrigo.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.